Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Beach FM, I'd like to make very welcome now, with some regret actually, the Deputy Chairwoman of the Waikanae Community Board, Jill Griggs. Jill, good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, John.
Jill, I believe I can still say that because you are still the Deputy Chair until, a little bit later on this month. You've announced your intentions to resign from the board, I believe, on the 18th of September. Why?
Can I just say, first of all, I'm resigning from the board from the 18th of September, but to assist my colleagues in coping with this, I stepped down as Deputy Chair last Friday, and so Margaret Stevenson-Wright is now acting Deputy Chair, and that role will be formalised at the next formal Community Board meeting, which is on the 29th of September.
Well, thank you for clarifying that, but the big question I'm sure many people are asking is, why, Jill? Why?
Well, John, I worked in central government for quite a long time before I decided to finish up working full time, and I thought I understood the political scene, and I wanted to do something locally. I got to the kind of time in life where I wanted to give something back, and I thought the idea of doing something locally within Kapiti was just, there's so much that can be done here, and so many things that are exciting. So I thought, wow, that would be great. And so I stood for the community board. And I was very lucky that I was elected, and I'm still very thankful to the residents of Waikanae for electing me. But once I got involved with things, the types of things that are required to make a democracy, and I'm a complete supporter of democracy, but the steps one needs to go through, I have found quite difficult, because I'm someone who rolls their sleeves up, gets on and does something, and there's a lot of things one has to do within the democratic process that make that not quite the easiest thing to do. And so I've been feeling a little bit of a square peg in a round hole for some time. And then when my colleague Jeffrey Churchman resigned for totally different, unconnected reasons, I saw a by-election about to happen and had a very big talk with myself and thought, actually, I can do more in the community, not on the community board. And so I decided to take advantage of the by-election and step down.
What a shame. What a shame. I completely understand why you've come to that conclusion, but I think it's just a shame for the board and also for the community. But it does puzzle me a wee bit, Jill. I mean, you set up the Electoral Commission. You've worked with ministers. I mean, you've been working on, I believe, on the cannabis referendum that we've got to vote on very, very shortly. So some of this should not have been a surprise.
It shouldn't have, John, should it? But I think I've never been the political side of the fence. I've only been the delivery side of the fence. And I hadn't realised how different they were. It was. I thought I understood it well. And I can only apologise to the residents of Waikanae that I made that mistake. But I'm not disappearing. One of the things I've been doing recently is I was very involved in getting the Waikanae Community Market set up.
Yes.
And I've agreed with them that I will chair the Incorporated Society of the market. And there's a lot of work we've got to do there. And I find that really exciting, and I can get down and roll my sleeves up, get down in the dirt and get things done, and not be thinking, now who should I be talking to first? Have I got to check that first? What paper should I have written first? I can just do it. And that's me, really.
You seem to be saying that you are a doer rather than a politician. Would that be a correct?
I think that's a very good summary.
But you've also have skills, Jill, as a mediator as well. This is the thing that really intrigues me. And actually, politics is all about mediation. It's a conflict of various interests, and really it's a battle over resources, isn't it, politics? That's what it's all about. Mediators are so important in that process.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I thought that would actually stand me in very good stead. But once you get into what the democratic process is about, it actually requires individuals to have a point of difference, because otherwise there's not something for the electorate to choose between. And so one of the key things about mediation is actually the parties have got to want to agree. And in politics, the parties actually, almost by necessity, need not to agree, or else they haven't got a point of difference.
Isn't this sad? And if we have a look at what's happening in the United States at the moment, if we have difficulty in a beautiful village such as Waikanae, where in fact there's very little in the way of partisan politics as such, in terms of party politics, and democracy is an area that you find difficulty bringing your wonderful mediation skills to, what hope is there for democracy writ large, such as in the UK, in the US of A, two of the standard banner holders in the past anyway, we used to look to these major democracies to show us the way, and they are floundering, aren't they? Are you worried about democracy?
Well, that's a big question. I think that both the US and the UK are floundering, and I think that the New Zealand has, in its normal way, has reacted early and gone to MMP, which goes the teensiest step towards how I would love to see things working, and that is for something like coming up to a general election, for all the parties to get together and say, all right, these are the things we all agree on. Let's agree on the best way forward for those, put them to one side. Now, how would we do things differently? And campaign on the true points of difference rather than the ones that they have to create. We've seen it so much with the response to COVID, where we've been really the envy of the world, and all the other parties have had to nitpick because the politics requires them to do that. Because if another party says, oh my goodness, Jacinda, what a fabulous job you've done, we think Labour have done a terrific job, they're not going to get elected, are they?
Indeed, and you bring up a very good point. You mentioned the name Jacinda, and that's the name on many people's minds. If you talk to someone like Simon Bridges, he would tell you that he found it extraordinarily difficult to do the job as leader of the opposition in the way that he understood it, because he had to oppose. I mean, that is what the opposition is for. And he found that Jacinda had such an amazing following in the country that it led to his demise. Do you think that's a reasonable summation of that political event?
I think it was a contributor, but I think there was a bit more to it. But it was something huge like this. We're only sort of one step away from everybody coming together to create a war, and yet we're not quite there. So It was a very, very tricky place to be in opposition. Almost impossible. Almost impossible,
no doubt about that. Well, you're no longer in the opposition, or even it's difficult to describe the Waikanae Community Board in terms of competing factions, actually. But I do hope that you find your place and fulfil that need that you feel to contribute to the community. And let's hope that you come up with something that's satisfying for you.
Well, I'm already very involved with the community market, and I sit on the Mahara Gallery Trust Board, and I don't think I'm spilling any secrets if I say we're looking at ways I can continue to fulfil that role. And the Waikanae Community Market is at a point where we've got the initial rush, we've got the thing up and running. Now if we want to stay a community market, we need lots more willing pairs of hands. Absolutely. So we're going to be going out to the people of Waikanae and saying, now, can you spare a few hours to do something like come and stand on a table and make people sign in and use the COVID app, because we can't take people off stalls to do that. So we're in the process of pulling other people into the society to make it a truly community market. So that's taking up a lot of my time at the moment.
And you see, that's why we've got to keep you involved in our community. Jill, it's a great shame that it didn't work out in the community board, but we certainly hope that you keep us in touch with your activities as you go on to contribute to our communities. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been a great pleasure.
It's been lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much.
106.3 Beach FM.